Are credit cards bad? Is a question that we often see, hear, and sometimes get. And I want to give you the answer in a way that you can best understand it, in a way that best benefits you. What up? You got Mr. Smith, point five of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And in this brief video, I want to answer the question that many people often ask, and that is, are credit cards bad? Now, I will say this. A lot of things in life in general has a bad side and a good side. Money can be used for amazing things. Money can be used for detrimental things or harmful things, or used to manipulate people as well. That doesn't make money bad. That just means that the person who was in control of the money chose to express an area of themselves to use it in a bad way. Just like somebody who may have money may do great, amazing things with it. So the money itself isn't bad. It depends on the user and what they have as a motive or their agenda is as it relates to money. Similar is true with credit cards, but the difference isn't on the agenda per se. It's based on the knowledge that the individual using the credit card has about credit cards. So with that being said, credit cards can be bad, very bad, but credit cards can also be good, very good. So it's just a matter of you understanding the detriment they can cause and the pros that go along with it, so that you know how to best benefit from it if you're going to use credit cards. Now, I will say this, as it relates to having a credit score, in many cases, it's going to require you to have a credit card or some type of line of credit. But credit cards is a predominant area that controls the 30% that goes into credit utilization. You can't have a full or a high credit score without some form of credit utilization. That's 165 points. Without that 165 points, you're only left with a certain amount. So some type of credit line or line of credit is necessary in order to have a quality profile. So that's important to know, because if you're trying to play in the game of credit, then you got to understand the importance of having a credit card, which means that it can't be all bad if you're using it for greater good. Some of the bad things about credit is that they tend to have high interest rates, and the fact that you're able to just spend on it kind of creates this urge to spend money that really isn't yours, or really that isn't in your account. You're just spending it, and sometimes you can overspend. And when you overspend, that's when it can be detrimental. When you factor in interest rates, when you factor in all the things that go along with having to pay that back, and that money still being added or multiplying over time. We did a video called The Credit Card Catastrophe, where we showed that if a person only made the minimum payment, that minimum payment can take them hundreds of years to pay off if they just made the minimum payment. So what that means is you definitely don't want to get caught in a cycle of spending so much that you can't pay off and only making the minimum payment. Because if you find yourself just making the minimum payment alone, what tends to happen is that you find yourself buried in credit card debt. That leads to stress, that leads to, feeling of certain things, that could lead to bankruptcy, that could lead to losing certain assets or the ability to acquire assets. It can lead to some detrimental things. But if you're educated about credit and you're doing the right things, because it does take discipline along with education, because some people may not have an education on credit, but they're just disciplined in the areas of paying things off in full, and that discipline saves them. But some people may not be educated and or lack the discipline, and that can hurt them as it relates to credit cards, because credit cards can bury you because they have that ability to charge such a high interest rate. On the flip side, though, they can be a great thing because you're not locked in to the interest rate. So in other words, if it seems as though you have a high interest rate, such as 20%, such as 23, 24%, that just is what it seems like. However, you can dictate how little or how much of that interest rate you actually get charged. What do I mean? That means they give you an interest rate based on your balance every single month. However, just because they charge you interest this month don't mean they have to charge you interest next month, because you can pay it out when you deem necessary. With a loan, you're locked into the interest. So no matter what or how soon you pay it off, you still have to pay a portion of that interest with typical loans. With mortgages, you have the ability to save some interest, but they all operate a little different. But with the credit card, you can position yourself to not endure the detriment that comes from the high interest rate associated with credit cards. Now, on the good side of credit, like I already stated, it benefits you from an area of credit utilization. That's 30% of your credit score. Outside of payment history is the largest one. In fact, it's the one that you actually have the most control over, which means that you are more likely to acquire all 165 of those points than you are to acquire all 192.5 points that comes from payment history. That's pretty significant because you can maximize credit utilization just by keeping your credit card balances low. And low, by my definition, is less than 10%. Ideally, you want to get in the habit of paying it off, or whatever the case may be. That doesn't mean you can't use the credit card to the max. That just means that you don't leave it at the max, so that when they report to the bureaus, it shows to be a low utilization. And understanding that knowledge would allow you to maximize the benefits that come from credit cards. Credit cards are also great when it comes to traveling and disputing things, because if it's ever something flawed or fictitious or some type of fraud on your credit card account, it's a lot easier to dispute it than if you're just using a debit card. If your credit card is stolen, it's a lot easier for you to detain it and, resolve the situation. And many times they'll give you your money back. It's no big deal because they are big boys. They know how to handle it. But with a debit card, it's a fight sometimes. And if your money gets stolen, then of course, it's no paper trail in a sense. So that being said, credit cards have that benefit. In addition to that, they also come with a lot of different rewards points. Depending on the credit card, it comes with a ton of different rewards points. Those reward points are starting to be like equivalent to cash. There's some people who get a lot of credit cards, and it's based on the different rewards that they offer, and they're getting free flights and discounts and hotels and all kind of stuff using the credit card. We haven't gotten that far as to getting free flights, but we do have a credit card that pays a decent credit that we've been able to use towards hotel or certain things. We've even used some of the points to just pay the balance. You know what I mean? Just pay the amount off. So the points can add up and be very beneficial, but you got to know what you're doing with credit cards. It's not something you just want to tap into without having a level of understanding or without having a habit of knowing to pay it off, because it's easy to get caught up and not paying it off and just spend it. Ask me how I know we did it. So that being said, you just got to understand the significance in having a knowledge of how credit cards works, so you can benefit and know how to avoid the detriment that credit cards can cause, the bad side that credit cards can cause, and benefit only from the good side of credit cards if you choose to tap into it. Grab the free credit class down below, and definitely tap in if you need assistance on helping you with your credit journey. Set up a free consultation and we'll see if we're a good fit if you want to hire us for our services. It won't be cheap, but I definitely know that we usually can move you forward in the right direction and help you hit your credit goals. But if you want to learn the game for yourself, grab a free credit class, and we got a DIY system that can show you from point A to point Z on how to better your credit. That's all I got for this video. Mr. Smith signing out. Salute.